Hey folks, Joe here. I know I said I'm only going to do like a video a week, but I learned something today that really bothered me. And I wanted to share it because it directly impacts our towns in the Addison-Rutland district. And so I thought it'd be important for me to do a quick video on this and show you something that I learned. So I'm going to share my screen here. And I'm sure you've all heard the governor's plan, which we're seeing a VT Digger article about it right now, about getting rural towns federal money. And that's awesome. 100% for that. I know personally, living in a rural town, how challenging it can be at times for us to really take advantage of this money. And as you can see from the article, is that the governor's program would be helping smaller, what they consider to be under-resourced communities to get some help in applying for federal money. So that's awesome. I'm in favor of that. That's great. But you know what they say? They say the devil's in the details. So let's scroll down here on this VT Digger article, and we can see this map. And this map says, according to the agency administration, communities with a percentile score above 75% are considered underserved communities. So let's look at the Addison-Rutland district. So basically anything in dark blue is considered to be an underserved community, which we prioritized under this program that the governor is proposing. So here we have Orwell. It's in the dark blue, but look at the other towns that I represent. Here we have Shoreham. It's in the light blue. It has a percentile rank of 55%. Let's look at Whiting, a percentile rank of 73%, just under the cutoff of getting priority is Whiting. Sudbury, 60%. Hubbardton, 63%. So I had to ask myself a question. How did we calculate this number? And it was harder to figure out than I could, but thankfully I serve in the House of Representatives with some pretty amazing people. I put out a call to my colleagues. I said, hey, does anyone know how this number is calculated? And someone did. And that person was Catherine Sims, who's a really awesome representative. She's really at the forefront of rural issues. Great person. So I'm going to share my screen again because she's shared with me an Excel file that I want you all to see. Here's how they calculated it. So there's a lot of stuff going on here, but basically what it comes down to is I want to call your attention to index scoring. County subdivisions, towns, can receive a combined need and a capacity score ranging from 0 to 100. Higher scores indicate high need and low capacity. And then ultimately top 25%. So basically that 75% range, which Orwell is, but Whiting isn't. So what do they use in order to do this? We're going to go over to the towns on this spreadsheet, and we are going to filter by county. So I'm just going to select Addison County and Rutland County, because that's where the towns that I represent are. So that's great. And let's quickly highlight the towns of the Addison-Rutland district. So here's the 5 towns of the Addison-Rutland district. And you'll see Orwell barely meets that cutoff, that 75% cutoff that we have. Whiting just falls below it, 73%, 63%, 60, and 55. But we have to ask ourselves, how is this calculated? Well, it's calculated by looking at this number, which is the average of capacity score and need score. So you see these two numbers here, this column right here, it says capacity score, and this column that says need score. So it's calculated based on the average of the capacity and need score. So basically you're weighting half to capacity and half to need. So Orwell has a 90 capacity, so this isn't percent. That's important to point out. We have a 90 capacity score in Orwell. And remember, capacity score higher means less capacity, lower means better capacity to help work on grants and stuff like that. So Orwell, 90 capacity score, not percent. I have to be careful not to say percent. 90 capacity score. Whiting, 87. Hubbardton, 89. 90 for Sudbury, and 87 for Shoreham. Let's look at the need score. In fact, I am going to sort by the need score. Real quick here, going to sort descending to see what are in Rutland and Addison County the towns that have the most need based on the factors that we saw here, because this is how need is calculated, is right here. So here we have our need score, and we can see Whiting, in fact, has the highest need. Orwell has the second highest need, then Hubbardton, only by a couple points, then Shoreham by a couple points, and then Sudbury by a couple points. So if Whiting has the most need, why don't they get prioritized and Orwell does? Like, when I go around our district, I see towns that have very similar issues. I see towns that have need when it comes to capturing federal dollars, comes to capturing grants from the state and everything like that. I see that need in all 5 of the towns I represent. So why do some towns, why does Orwell get prioritized and other towns don't? Well, here's the thing I wanted to point out, and here's the thing that bothers me. So remember, the score, which is going to determine if you are prioritized or not, is the average of capacity and need. So how is capacity calculated? Well, we can look up here in this address bar, here's formula bar, I believe is what they call it in Excel. And we can see that it's the average of the town administrator score. So basically, do you have a town administrator or not? College presence, population size normalized, population change normalized. College presence? College presence. What does that mean? Well, again, let's go back to our README file here. We're looking over here, capacity, college, university present, county subdivisions, towns with no college, university within 15 miles driving distance receive a score of 100. County subdivisions with a college, university within 15 miles receive a score of 50 to 99. So let's look here. We have the college present score for Whiting is 88. The college present score for Hubbardton is 92. The college present score for Shoreham is 88. And the college presence score for Sudbury is 92. Orwell is 100. Remember, 100 in this case means less capacity. It means sort of worse in this metric than the other ones. So, basically what this comes down to is that Whiting is not going to get prioritized because Middlebury is nearby. Period. End of story. That's it. That's why Whiting's not going to get prioritized, because of Middlebury is nearby. I have no problem with Middlebury College. My wife is a Middlebury alumnus. I teach at Middlebury. No problem with Middlebury College. But does being within 15 miles of Middlebury help Whiting have more capacity to get local and federal grants? No. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. And here's the crazy part. Let's change these numbers. Let's put Whiting at 100. And so that means having no college or university presence. And let's see how that recalculates it. That moves, let's look, it is now capacity score of 89. We'll hit undo, so it's going to put it back to 88. Capacity score of 87. You may say, Joe, that's not a lot. Well, if we redo it real quick here, 89, that actually brings the score up to a 69, which means that they now should be prioritized here. And if we were to change all of the towns in the district to a 100, if we do all of that, we can see all of their scores change. Now, that potentially could have an issue for Orwell. And I would want to be transparent about that. I mean, it seems like they're at 75. So again, they're just at that cutoff now. I don't know how that might help Orwell or might not help Orwell. However, I have to just say, from a fairness perspective, again, how does having Middlebury College or Castleton University within 15 miles help these towns get grants? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And quite frankly, it forces me to ask the question about these other metrics. How were these other metrics calculated in order to reach the numbers they did that have a real impact on the ability for our towns to get help? I don't know, because some of these numbers don't make a lot of sense. So again, remember, looking at the numbers that we're looking at for capacity, we're looking at town administrator manager. Okay, yes or no, it's pretty straightforward. College presence, we discussed that. Population size normalized, population change normalized. Again, we can go back to the README here. change in population. Again, what does that have to do with getting a grant? Helping you get a grant, if it goes up or it goes down. There's Whiting, for example, has the lowest score here because they had a 6% population change, I guess. Again, this data is pretty, I don't know, how do you calculate a 58 on this score? I don't know. So I just don't understand why some of these numbers were chosen. I don't also understand, again, looking over at broadband. So 85% of people in Whiting have broadband. 82% of people in Orwell have broadband, 86% Hubbardton, 79% in Shoreham, 87% in Sudbury, which results in these scores. I don't think any of us in any of our 5 towns think that our broadband is good enough to give us like less need. Our broadband is terrible. It's terrible. The broadband we get is, this, this metric that we supposedly get 25 down and 3 up. That's supposedly the metric that you have, but we all know it's not true. Everyone in Orwell, I'll just use Orwell as the example here because it's where I live. No one in Orwell is like, oh, I got great internet. Oh, my internet's wonderful. No, it's terrible. 82% of us are not happy with, and so why should that then, why should that then lead into the calculation that is then hurting our towns from getting the help that they need? So, again, one could probably argue a variety of metrics here, and things like that. Certainly I think when we think about, the federal poverty level, well, that makes sense when you're thinking about needs, certainly to me. The change in labor force, the labor force participation rate is a really important statistic for understanding how many people are in the labor force or not in the labor force and things like that. Yes, that can indicate need. But, when we're talking about something that is going to say whether money is going to flow to our towns for help to get more grants or not, why should how close they are to Middlebury Castleton matter? Why should what percentage have this absolutely insane version of what broadband is matter? It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. Not against the program. Not against the program. Very much in favor of the program. But I got a problem with the way they calculated the numbers because they put in things that just don't make any sense to actually determining if there is need. So, I'm on this. I'm talking to people about it. Trying to make the point that this doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm there for you in that sense. Not promising anything because it is a large bureaucracy, and I'm basically sort of saying there's a problem with some of the fundamental ways that they're calculating this program, which we have to go back to square one. But maybe we should go back to square one if the metrics that we're using to determine who gets help and doesn't get help are not good metrics. So that's it. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you soon.